Okay, picture this. It's Friday night, peak dinner rush, and your data product just dies. Delivery ETAs are all over the place, refunds are skyrocketing, and you can practically feel the business losing trust in your team. Yeah, not a good look. So how do we stop that nightmare from happening? Well, we need a disciplined approach. In this explainer, we're going to break down a really powerful framework for shipping change without the chaos. We'll get into the three big pillars: configuration, change, and incident management.
So here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to talk about why this is so important, the high stakes of getting deployments wrong. Then, we'll dive deep into the three pieces of a stable system: knowing what you have, changing it safely, and fixing it fast when it breaks. And stick around to the end because we'll cover how you can actually use these skills to really stand out in your career. Let's jump in.
All right, first up, let's talk about the big problem: shipping chaos. And believe me, the cost of a failed deployment is way higher than you think. At a company like our example, Hungry Now, a bad change isn't just a tech glitch. Nope, it's a direct, painful hit to the bottom line.
Every single time you deploy, you're standing at a fork in the road. Down one path, absolute chaos. We're talking service outages, corrupted data, and seriously angry customers. But down the other path, a flawless deployment. Happy customers, data you can actually trust, and a business that sees you as a reliable partner. The difference between these two isn't luck. It's having a professional process. And that process? It's built on three fundamental pillars. First up is configuration management. This is all about knowing exactly what's running in your system. You can't safely change what you don't understand, right? Next is change management. Think of this as your safety checklist for getting from point A to point B, without blowing anything up. And finally, we have incident management. This is your playbook for when things, and let's be real, they will, go wrong. Because it's not about never failing, it's about how you recover. That's what really defines a pro team. So let's dig into that first pillar, configuration management. The best way to think about this is like having a perfect, always up-to-date blueprint of your entire system. It's foundational, because you can't and shouldn't try to change something you don't fully understand. The modern way to do this, the absolute golden rule, is configuration as code. This means everything. Your Terraform scripts, your Airflow configs, you name it. It all lives in a version control system like Git. And this is so much more than just documentation. It's the key that unlocks automation, peer review, and my personal favorite, automatically spotting when someone makes a manual change they shouldn't have.
Okay, once you've got that blueprint, you're ready for Pillar 2, change management. Now, this isn't about creating a bunch of red tape and bureaucracy. It's about building a rock-solid safety checklist that makes every single deployment safe, predictable, and repeatable.
This flow right here is the heart of making safe changes. It all starts with a formal request. Then it moves through assessing the risk and getting it reviewed. Of course, it has to be tested in a staging environment. And it needs a formal approval before it goes anywhere near production. But, and this is key, it doesn't stop there. The last step is to verify it in production. You always confirm the change did exactly what you thought it would. But a good process is flexible, not rigid. Not all changes are created equal, right? A simple text fix on a BI dashboard? That's a low-risk, pre-approved standard change. Easy. Building a whole new data pipeline? That's a normal change, and it's going to need a full peer review. And then you have those oh no moments, like a critical security patch. That's an emergency change, and it has a super streamlined, high-urgency approval path. The whole point is to match the process to the risk.
Now, these are the absolute non-negotiables. Think of them as your system safety net. Every single change needs a second pair of eyes through a peer review, no exceptions. It has to pass automated tests before it gets to production. You deploy during low traffic times, what we call change windows, and this one is critical. You must have a tested plan to roll back the change in an instant. Your rollback plan is your ultimate undo button. Don't leave home without it.
But look, even with the best plans in the world, things will eventually break. It just happens. And that brings us to our third pillar, incident management. The mark of a truly professional team isn't that they never have incidents, it's how quickly and calmly they respond when they do. And when an incident hits, the one thing that matters is speed. Specifically, we measure something called mean time to recover, or MTTR. For a pretty significant issue, what we call a severity 2, a mature team is aiming to fix it in under 20 minutes. Why 20 minutes? Because every single minute of downtime or bad data is just burning through customer trust and costing the business real money. That target forces you to be disciplined and prepared.
This timeline shows how a calm, practiced response can turn a full-blown crisis into a manageable process. Just look at the structure here.
Roles are assigned immediately, communication happens at a predictable rhythm, and big decisions are made at key intervals. A playbook like this stops the panic and keeps everyone focused on recovery.
So after the fire's out, that's when the most important work really begins, the post-mortem. And there's one single unbreakable rule here. It has to be blameless. The goal is to figure out the systemic reasons why a failure was even possible in the first place, not who to point the finger at. That's how you make the entire system stronger for next time.
Okay, so you're doing all this stuff on the job, you're mastering these skills. Great. Now let's talk about how you turn that day-to-day practice into powerful, career-building evidence that shows everyone just how mature of an engineer you really are.
Okay, this is huge. The way you talk about your work can literally make or break an interview. On one hand, you could say, yeah, I fix errors when they pop up. That's a red flag. It sounds reactive and honestly a little weak. But what if you said, I follow our incident response protocol, I log the event, I analyze the root cause, and then I update our monitoring logic to prevent it from happening again. See the difference? That's a massive green flag. It tells people you're not just putting out fires, you're fireproofing the whole building.
And here are some more killer examples of that professional mindset in action. Each one of these points connects a specific task, like running game day drills or setting up SLA alerts in Airflow, to one of the core principles we've been talking about. Seriously, this is the kind of language that hiring managers and senior engineers are listening for. It proves you have real-world expertise.
When you boil it all down, it really comes back to this simple mindset. Know what you have, be incredibly disciplined about how you change it, and be totally prepared to recover fast. It's about versioning everything, putting gates on your releases, and treating every single failure as an opportunity to learn and get better.
So, I'm going to leave you with this question. What is one small, tangible safeguard you can put in place this week to get yourself one step closer to shipping without chaos? Maybe it's testing a rollback plan for the first time, or just writing down your team's incident response steps. Whatever it is, that's where the real work begins.